What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Essential Scares podcast, the only show that dares to ask the question, is it essential? I am your host, Corbin, and with me today is Alan.
Good evening.
Bobby.
Disclaimer, the last week's Legacy episode, they said we stand by their scores, and, you know what? Yeah, no, I still stand by it.
Yeah, that was almost a live adjustment right there. I saw it. We have got a great show for you this week. We're going to be talking about the highly anticipated Halloween Kills, the sequel to Halloween, But before we get into that, Bobby has a spoiler warning.
I do. This will serve as your first one and only spoiler warning for the brand new movie Halloween Kills. If you do not want this brand new movie spoiled for you, please skip to the time code ahead for our spoiler-free essential discussion. This one goes out to all the rebels, the misunderstood, you fellow 39% on Rotten Tomatoes who thinks this movie is good. This one's for you. Corbin?
Oh, that was good. We take a week off, and Bobby's really had a chance to reconvene his style. I really like it.
He brought some heart and soul into that. I really felt connected to that.
It's really for them,
warning.
It's for them.
Yeah.
What about the other 61%?
They can go fuck themselves. They're wrong.
Fair.
Oh man. So before we get into Halloween Kills, though, I want Alan to kick it off with some brief thoughts on Halloween and Halloween. It was his first time.
Without scores or maybe essentiality, because I think we might have eventually touched this.
Yeah, just some quick thoughts. It was his first time watching them, so he watched them in preparation for Halloween Kills, because obviously you can't go into this one, as your first one.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
So, or would it?
Could be funny.
he had a thought. As soon as he said that, he was like, wait a minute.
That could be
Maybe I should have.
All right, let's rewind time.
Yep.
We got this. We can figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway, what did you think of the other two Halloween movies?
So, off the bat, I think I have to say that it's hard for me to decide which one I like more. I think that in terms of 18, so Halloween 2018, it does the hard task of being a sequel to one of the most iconic movies of horror, period. And it actually succeeds on that, which is shocking, frankly, that it was even able to do that, in my opinion. And at the same time, when I was watching, I watched 78, 18 Kills all back to back to back to back. And I watched them with my wife. She also thoroughly enjoyed all three of these movies. And seeing just how Michael Myers really does set the stage for what moments I thought were iconic in Friday the 13th, for example, to only see, no, that's mostly Michael Myers and Jason's just a poor imitation. It kind of made me go, maybe Michael Myers is my slasher villain. So I need to delve into that more with the other timeline. Myself, I know I've seen timelines. True, I've seen the first Rob Zombie Halloween as well. I don't remember anything about it. But just in general, I think that...
Oh, he'd love it. It's awful, but he'd love it.
Probably. I think in general, they're both incredibly good slasher films. Yeah. I mean, it's the moments that you see... I don't want to spoil anything about 78 because I'm going to be talking about it on Halloween Day, if you have been paying attention to our 33 days of Halloween. So I will go much more in depth on that day on Halloween, but I think they're both phenomenal films, which unfortunately leads me into Kills, where I think that Kills suffers a lot from the fact that we know there's another movie after it. And that ultimately, for me, makes me think there's zero stakes. Now, Kills does a pretty good job at the very end of actually introducing stakes into what occurs, in my opinion. But just from the beginning of the movie, knowing we have something else after it, there's only so much that I thought they could really do. And that at a base level kind of had me a little shaky. And then the movie itself kind of just fell into a bit of a malaise for me throughout it all.
I don't know. We'll talk to the ending when we get there, but I think that like there were enough good fake outs at the end that made you go, "Oh shit! Is Halloween Ends going to be like the Halloween without Michael Myers in it?"
There's no
like,
chance you ever thought that, actually.
I
right?
did. No.
Really?
When what's her face stabbed him in the back, I was like, "Oh shit! Like it's actually done." I was like, they're actually gonna like try to do something weird with it, like where they're gonna like make like both of the old people's obsession with like it had to be me to do it like go nuts, and they were gonna like kind of make it different like that. I really did for a second think it like I bought into it. I think I probably have the most sympathetic view of this movie because I really did enjoy it a lot. I bought in the entire time. I like even character like in the beginning I was like, oh man, the Big John, Little John are kind of lame, but I before they died I was like, I like Big John and Little John.
I did
like those
Big
two
John
Mad
and Little John.
TV characters. Like
They were
It was
very
a
funny.
surprisingly interesting couple,
yeah,
just at a base level. Like I was
they
like,
were just
this
two
is cool.
they were just two goofy lovers. Like it was nice.
I loved
Two
that
husbands. Yep.
they were the ones that moved into the Myers house. Like it was just funny to me.
Yeah.
Like they absolutely seemed like the people that would be like, oh, this is the cheap house because nobody wants to live here. Like we're just gonna own it.
And then fix it up. It was a nice looking
Yeah.
house in there. Like they put in some time, some effort, a little TLC into that Myers house. It was looking great.
My note on them was I've never gone from being anti to pro characters so quickly. It was just like they were just like it was when Big John was like, you know, after my mother died and yada yada, and like Little John was like, oh, I'm so, you know, baby, it's okay. I was like, oh man, they're just like two like late middle aged, like there's a couple that like just want to be left alone and enjoy their lives, and then I was like, oh no, Michael Myers is gonna kill him now.
Quite brutally as well.
I know, yeah. So touching back on your first comment, I mean, I never even thought for a microsecond that Michael Myers was going to eat it in this movie. And I think that I enjoyed the movie. I mean, I'll just put it out there because I know that over the course of the length of this, I'm probably going to say a lot of negative things. I already feel it. I enjoyed the movie. I just want to get that out there. But I agree with Alan that I felt like the stakes were low. And, I mean, it's a slasher. I never honestly think the stakes are all that high, right? Especially when it's a franchise slasher. Like, what are they going to do? Kill Jason Voorhees again? You know what I mean? Like, what's the big deal? But I think going into this knowing that the next one is supposed to be the big finale was just different compared to going into 18, which was originally pitched as a standalone, and which I think still could have just been the end. And
so to hit on that, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
So I watched this movie, and one of the first things that came to my mind when I finished 18 was, why does Kills exist? Because 18 kind of ends perfectly.
Yeah.
It really just it finishes, it's over, that's the story. You actually see a victory, and I think that there's something interesting about that, because they really kind of start to lean into with Kills this idea of Michael Myers is more than a man, which is they've
That's
already
old
done
school
that
Halloween,
in they've done that in Halloween and in 2018, because I mean this guy gets shot a ton. Like
No. You don't know what he's saying.
I disagree. No, yeah. 78 and 18. I think that this is actually a problem. I don't really care. A problem with Kills is that they do end up going hard into like Michael Myers is more than a man. 78 and 18. That Michael Myers could have just been a crazy person. Like he could have just been someone who's
I mean, he
like
gets shot a ton of times at the end of 70. He gets shot like 5 times.
he's psychotic.
So
Those are small
up
caliber
until-
rounds.
Yeah, up until when does he get shot in 18?
No, he said at the end
eight-
of 78. Loomis just
78, he
At
gets
the end of
shot a ton.
78, he gets shot and runs away, or gets shot and falls out a window and runs away. That doesn't mean he's dead. People have survived gunshot wounds
18,
before.
Lori clips him with her big ass revolver too, right in the shoulder. She gets him good. Or
Again, but
no,
like-
that's
but
actually
like
no,
Judy
actually
Greer,
sorry.
Karen gets him.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also the shot I was thinking of was actually in Kills when the police officer got him too when he was running
I'll
away.
also say, like, I don't know, man, like, even like a good portion of this movie, Michael Myers still does not feel like a force of nature.
Oh, but at
Like,
the end he does.
At the
Yeah,
end, well, at the
they-
end,
they
that's
eventually-
when they kind of bring in the curse of Thorn or whatever.
Yeah,
Bullshit from
which
later.
It's kind of weird that they basically do that without doing it. Like they never really say it. Laurie's narration definitely feels like they wanted to say it.
Mhm.
But Michael does become that version of Michael, right? The undying
I don't
like
wa-
force of evil.
Which that
Okay.
loses a bit for me.
Which for what it's worth, I didn't like that. Like the last minute or like 2 minutes of that movie didn't sit right with me.
I think it would have been
Um,
more interesting if the movie ended with Michael being like beaten down, and then the next movie could have started with him like coming back from that.
Yeah.
Instead of this movie
Again,
ending with him
having
like a
it be like the-
superhero
yeah.
style.
Yeah.
Well, 'cause that would
what's the
subvert your
mom's name?
What's that?
Which Karen?
Yeah, Karen.
Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having
Judy-
her
Judy
get like
Greer?
murdered. Yeah, Judy Greer. Having Judy Greer get like literally murdered at the end, like that was like the one thing. Like I was like falling it. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, this movie's dope. And then that happened, and like that was like the one place where it really lost me. I'm like, first of all, like this movie and 18 are both really good about like scene blocking.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he can like get inside and all that stuff is like, I have a suspicion that that's going to be a dream sequence or something, and they're going to like immediately turn that into something else because like it doesn't make sense. And if they don't,
I think it's a
bad.
byproduct. I think it's a byproduct of being like reshot in some way.
Mm.
And I mean,
also-
honestly, like I like that. I like that part of the ending, like him like rising from the ground and like killing the mob.
That was fine.
With
I
a
didn't even mind
awkward
that.
camera angles. You barely like see anything. That part
Yeah.
I'm like whatever on. But when with that very last sequence perfectly mirroring the very beginning of 78, I loved that. And I
Me
didn't
too.
care about her as a character nearly enough to like be bummed that she's not in the next one. So for me, it was fine.
I liked the idea of like the three generations of Strodes. Like,
Well, I
that
think
was,
they're.
that
I'm pretty
I was
confident
cool with, and
they're gonna kill Lori in the next one, and then so Allison will be like, she'll be like the best of both of her. Like she'll be the best of her mother
yeah,
and the best
yeah.
of her grandmother, and she'll move on to the next.
Well, yeah, they're pushing so hard that like both those people have to kill him, but yada yada, and like
Yeah.
it ain't happening. Like, even if they don't die, right? It'll be something where the youngest, the granddaughter, is gonna have to do it. I'm sorry, I'm very bad with names.
Allison. Yeah.
Allison, thank you.
Yes.
How do we feel about all of like 78 surviving characters getting absolutely fucking murdered? No, one of them survives. What's
One
her face?
did. Lindsay did. Yeah.
Lindsay makes yeah.
I
actually really liked it.
I couldn't have cared less if they ever came back. So them coming back just to be killed was like, okay, I was
Yeah.
cool with that. I felt like a fun way for fans that would care to bring those characters back and see like, okay, we've seen how Lori, coped, how these other people have coped,
Mhm.
seeing that, but then going like, well, not everybody can survive, and just killing them off anyway. I was cool with that.
Yeah. I also that when we start that sequence of some of those characters being murdered, that's where the gore goes up a substantial degree, because even up until that point there had been bits like the firefighter sequence kind of gets a bit crazy, but I guess the one that sticks out to me is
He stabs an old lady with a fluorescent light bulb, dude.
Yes,
That's one of
I
the goriest
understand
shots
that.
in the whole movie.
Yeah.
No, but the one that comes to mind for
In
me
the neck.
is the character getting stabbed through the mouth and then the eye.
Oh,
No, it's
yeah.
straight through the eye. Like
the husband.
that to me, like the stab in the neck is one thing, but that shot specifically is one of my favorite sequences of gore that I've seen in recent memory. Like, I was so into that. And on top of that, so in Fear Street 78, if you remember, I said I was not a big fan of, like, off-screen killing the kids. And this movie does off-screen killing a child way better, way scarier, and way more intense.
When do they off-screen kill a kid?
The kid,
What?
the helmet that Michael is holding,
the
that is a
skull, when he
child's
comes back
head.
with the skull mask.
Yeah.
Because that was the other trick-or-treater.
Yeah. It's
I
that
missed
to me,
that.
I picked
Yeah.
that up immediately. I was like, oh my God, that's a child. And it's, again, that's why I'm saying, like, that kind of whole sequence, the gore kind of just shifted for me there into just a different level. Because you add on those kind of elements, the good knife stab. That in general, the gore level from 18 to this, huge jump, which is one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this movie. I think the gore of this movie is phenomenal.
They ramped it up.
It's so good. But I think where it loses things for me a bit is having all of these other characters that get brought into this film. I think that Halloween, from my brief experience, is better told in a more centralized story. And I think when you branch out and add in more and more and more and more people, it kind of loses that more individual, this is the boogeyman feeling for me, because I feel like that's such a more personal angle when it's less people that we're kind of focusing on, because this kind of more tells the story of the town as a whole having to deal with Michael,
Which I
And
like that. I
that.
like that Haddonfield is like it's not about
It's not there
about
for
the
me
central
there.
characters. It's about Haddonfield. It's like
It's
Corbin
the
brought
town
up-
is cursed. I get that.
But it's not even
some
just that.
degree.
It's like Corbin brought up before the podcast started that, like, he doesn't understand how I can like this movie but not like any of the Friday the 13th movies. And I understand the core theme is like Camp Crystal Lake is a character, and like this is like Haddonfield is meant to be a character. The difference is the characters that they highlight, even when they are a little bit more caricature-esque, they feel more three-dimensional. I've never watched a Friday the 13th movie, including the one I reviewed today, Friday the 13th, 2009.
What did you review that for, Bobby?
Oh, I reviewed that for 33 Days of Halloween, a letterbox review thing that we're doing for all of our fans and friends. That's 33 days of free content in addition to the Monday podcast. I just feel like this movie, while the characters are not always like likable, or but they all feel human in a way that a lot of lesser slashers don't. And so like it's still campy, it's still like goofy, but like and this movie is goofy. It does not have the same tone that 18 did.
It does feel more like the latter Halloween sequels in that way.
Yes, I would. Yeah, but even though 18 did have a sense of humor in and of itself, right? There were moments like.
So
I
was just saying, like, I like that this one has a wider cast of characters, even though I didn't care so much about any of the characters. Like, I'm not necessarily looking for that in a slasher 9 out of 10 times. And I liked that because I think that something that Halloween in general has often ended up focusing on is like one or two people, and then Michael's like quest to kill that one or two people, right? And something that Halloween 18 started the story of, and that this movie clearly continues, is that it is not and was never about that one or two people. And I think that is actually core to who like Michael Myers actually is supposed to be, and not what latter sequels made him out to be. And I think that having a wider range of characters is more interesting then, because Michael is actually like the main character and everybody else are like the people that he's impacting, rather than having
pawns
like,
in his game.
Yeah, rather than having like a good versus evil story, like it's just Michael versus the world because he's just a lunatic. And I think that's better, and it sets it apart a little bit more than other slashers.
And I mean, like, I'm a big true crime guy, and like just seeing like the way that like he in this movie, something I really liked is like when Michael kills, he sets up the bodies. It's like you watch him with the old man where he's like this, he like looks at a knife and goes thump, and he looks at the wall of knives and goes thump, and it's like he's almost like
I
doing
laughed
like
very hard at that sequence.
well, it's almost like he's doing an art project, and it's like it's like truly like, again, like he talks about, he's got the mind of a child, the body of a man, and the soul of an animal, or something like that. Was
that in this movie, or was that in 18?
That's in this movie.
Okay, I wasn't they kind of 18 and this one specifically bleed a little bit for me. I mean, I watched them within 24 hours of each other. And I was literally sitting here like, fuck, which movie is that quote from? And then thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, it was also Corbin, but yes,
I'm giving you the credit.
Yeah, it's all good.
Someone's got.
How did we feel about the flashback scenes?
Yeah,
like the faux flashbacks.
I personally didn't care for them.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought, okay, maybe I was just biased because I think they dutifully got the cinematography correct.
I think that they're very well done. I just don't think that they added enough to the movie. I think that they took up a lot of time without bringing enough to the film. And the movie's like hour 45, and like if you cut those, it would have been that crisp 90. And I think that I probably would have liked that more. I don't think that I think it added enough for me.
Was there, I'm trying to remember, after like the cold open, was there, how many more past scenes were there? I remember the one of the cops basically being like, this is what happened. You did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Is there anything else besides that?
There's the scene where Loomis is about to fucking dome Michael in the face.
Yes.
And
then there's a couple of like other quick like flashes of flashback.
I guess
which is totally that stuff like that's totally fine.
It was context that I didn't ask for, and I don't think I really needed it. Yeah. I think maybe doing the cold open as that and maybe abridged a little bit would work better for me. I would say I'm kind of between you guys on them. Like, I think they were fine, but they may have like slightly gone a little too much. Just because I think, like, what could have been replaced with that? You know, what more could we have had from this story we were trying to see if we cut out a couple of minutes of those scenes? You know,
I think part of it for me is that like I really, really desperately wanted this movie to start where Halloween 18 ends, and I think that was like just the perfect bridge, and trailers kind of made it feel like that's what was going to happen. And so there's probably expectations at play here where when you start watching this movie and then it's like 15 minutes before you get to the part that you're actually waiting for because there's two other openings. It's like, oh, like when's the movie going to start? Like
I know I briefly said it earlier about the firefighter sequence, but what do you guys feel about that being our first sequence of I feel like what that sequence does is it sets the tone for what you need to expect what we're going to see from Michael Myers in this movie in terms of his aggressiveness.
I think it's a badass scene that doesn't feel like Michael.
Yes. Okay. So
I guess.
I think
I have 3 movies of context.
That movie had ups and downs. That scene had tons of up and down. Him hiding in the gun safe.
Super cool.
Clever. Awesome.
Great way to start that out.
Yeah, him like killing and like pulling 2 of the guys back into the fire, awesome. And then it gets to this like weird action scene. They do it twice, and both don't feel super right to me. Like, because the first time they do it, he like murders the shit out of a bunch of firemen, which does not feel correct to me. And the second time they do it, a bunch of like a lynch mob beats the shit out of them and then dies.
Yeah, right? There's like 30 dudes there.
Yeah, like
when Michael, this whole time he has been like the stalker, right? Like he's got a brain about him. He thinks through it. He hides. He stalks, and then he's like brutal when he gets to it. And so having these, like you just said, Bobby, these like basically action scenes. It's like this. It just feels out of character, even though like there's nothing that we've seen that would like suppose he couldn't do that. It just doesn't feel like something that we should be seeing him do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I liked this movie a lot. I just didn't like those bits. I just felt like, even though they were cool, like like I'm like it. One thing reminded me, like the scene where like you're watching the dead visor, like the dude through the dead visor. It reminded me of a movie that me and Corbin saw a long time ago. Do you remember Dracula Untold?
Oh yeah,
They do that
yeah. It is
same.
kind of like that. Yeah.
They do that same shot in Dracula Untold, and it's just
Yeah.
like, and that movie is bad. And this movie
Also
isn't.
an action horror.
Yeah,
for what it's
yeah.
worth.
Yeah. So like there, I was like, it just I didn't want to be reminded of that movie in that moment, and I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
And then they go right into, I think, one of the most it's really compelling because there's this old couple and
One of the best parts of the whole movie.
oh
One
yeah,
of the best
like
parts.
and like they're only alive for this scene, and they do such a good job of making you really not want them to die because like she's just playing with a drone, and then all of a sudden, what does he say? Let's you want to open a box of Cheez-Its and drink a bottle of whatever type of wine and just like watch the movies. I'm like, oh my god, they love each other. And then he like, and then Michael
they're
comes in and
brutally
fucking
murdered.
Absolutely eviscerates the shit out of
Yep.
both of them. And I was like, fuck, that's so sad. And like she's got the knife, and he doesn't even go for the knife. He goes for the fluorescent light bulb, and she doesn't even fight back. It just like. I forgot that I think that was meant, and I think rightfully so. I think it's meant to be like, hey, you either gonna remember the cool firefighter scene, or you're gonna remember this really brutal scene. And you know what? Take your pick. We're not deciding. You'll decide for us. And
Well,
then
and on top of that, that's probably the scariest sequence in the whole film. That whole bit with that couple, just because it's the coldness of how he acts.
Yeah.
Constantly. And you already mentioned previously him stabbing the man. That to me was genuinely a scary scene of him just stabbing him like 5 times after the man's very clearly dead.
Yeah.
Just it's so unnecessary, and that just it feels so much more intense in that regard.
There's a thing in true crime called when we talk about killers, it's process versus product killers.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's weird because Michael Myers, like they because obviously he's not real. Like he has his process, right? Like the very deliberate, very real stalking. But then also there's the product of like, well, now I've got this body that I can make art projects with, because you see it all the time where like, and it's really prevalent in 18 in this, where like it's not like he's hiding it. He's displaying these things. He's making it make sense. And you see it in 78 really well, where he's like, where he's hanging up and he does his little head tilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, how can I make this work, right?
Mm-hmm.
How like, and I find that to be.
And then he does.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Answers.
Is this potentially the highest body count in a slasher film as a one film experience?
No goddamn way.
No.
Jason X, like 100,000 plus people die.
Oh
yeah, I'm counting them. I'm counting the space station.
Okay. So I don't know. That just kind of, because I mean he kills what? Like 10 firefighters, the whole mob that's after him, like 10 other people. Like it seems like this guy racks up like a body count of like 30 people in one film. That just seems like the body count of this movie is very high compared to other movies.
It is high, but if you are only counting like the people that you really see get killed, I think it's probably not as high as we think it is. It's probably like 15, which is actually pretty normal for like a Friday the 13th movie.
Hey yo, James Agent
like,
baby, hit us up with that kill count.
You don't see like all 10 firefighters get killed, you know, like
you see the aftermath of them all dead.
Are we counting that just bodies on the ground? Like Lord of the Rings has more kills than any slasher. Like where's the line?
I'm talking specifically about slasher films though. Like I don't know. It just it seemed like the body count here was very high.
Jason X has more by your metrics.
It's very high for a Halloween movie. Michael doesn't usually kill that many people in one go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. So how do we feel about Cameron's arc? I had to look him up because I wanted to make sure you got Cameron's the boyfriend. Yeah, his whole.
I didn't like him in the first movie, And in the second movie, I was pretty much just ready for him to die, and then he did.
He dies pretty well, though, all things considered. Again,
honestly,
Michael brutally kills kids.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Him killing Cameron was, I think, the most freaked out I was in that movie.
I can see that.
Just because, it was like the most visceral kill, probably.
Yeah, well, because she almost gets him to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you're like, come on, like, he's still alive. He's like, it's only spit. He's gonna make it, and then it's like, fuck. Like, I don't like again. We mentioned 78, Fear Street 78. If watch the review for that, listen to the review for that. For us, there's a part in that where like I had that, like, it was that same gut feeling, like, oh, because like he sucks at the end of Halloween 2018, but in like Kills, they bring him back in like a way that like he has a really honest way of like trying to help officer such and such. And like I was like, okay, so he's like he's not exactly a bad guy. Like, so I don't know. I felt for him at the end, and the fact that he sees his dad dead, and it's like, fuck. None of them needed to go inside the building. They didn't have to do that.
Seriously, especially when they're kind of building towards this motive for him about being in the house. It's like, maybe you could have just left him in there. Like,
call the police.
I mean, they got him once.
Right.
Ronnie, don't go in. Call the police, man. Like, listen to Loomis. He says, get your ass away from there.
Yeah. How do we feel about, since we're kind of talking about that final sequence?
Yeah.
At the end, right, Karen stabs him with the pitchfork.
Yes.
And then instead of finishing him right there, right, one of Alan's biggest slasher pet peeves, right? She doesn't kill him. She just
misses the coup de grace.
Takes his mask off and then leaves. How do we feel about that?
So I don't hate it as much because it did lead to her leading him into a trap to try and kill him. So like, does it still break my rule? Yes. But does it correct for itself? Also kind of yes. I really enjoyed seeing, I find it interesting when our villain just gets his ass royally kicked. I think that's an interesting thing to see occur, especially when it's someone like Michael Myers, who up until this point has just been killing people in increasingly crazy, brutal ways. It's been a fun romp. And then to just see him get annihilated. There is a certain amount of schadenfreude you get out of his own pain.
Mm-hmm.
But then they kind of just go against that entirely. Like they're like, okay, we're gonna do the classic thing that everybody does, where it's like, oh, we're not gonna take the chance to actually kill the killer, but then we are, but then we're not. Like, so it's that kind of. I am very mixed on this film in a general sense. I think it is a good film. I think that it does fall, though, compared to the previous two entries in this timeline. So I don't know, it kind of takes a step forward, takes a step back. So it just ends up being a very neutral kind of experience for me.
So, here's how I feel. I think that the pitchfork bit was fine. I think she should have stabbed him in the fucking head at the end. And a better film, as I like to say, would have led, and this is just me spitballing, would have led, because they built up this whole idea of the town is going nuts, and the town has taken the curse of Michael Myers, would have led into it being a mob of people, like a zombie movie, killing like teenagers in costumes. Think like looking all around town looking for Michael Myers, and the main character is trying to like stop this from happening.
I definitely think the mob could have been much more utilized.
Just make the sequel that. Make the sequel like there's like a bunch of kids like trying to prank being Michael Myers because it's such and such years after his death, and they're all looking for them. and all of a
Isn't that a
sudden
thing
you start
in
looking
the
at Michael
other
Myers'
timeline?
costume, the victim.
I
Not
could
quite
swear,
like that.
but I could swear there's like a guy who gets shot who's like being Michael Myers on Halloween. Like, as a joke.
There
Okay,
is
so-
that.
Okay.
It's not that, but yes,
Okay.
Michael Myers puts another dude in a jumpsuit, and it's a really fucking dumb cop out.
Mm-hmm.
This
Or
is my
like-
brief memory of AMC running a Halloween movie sometime
Fear Fest,
15 years
baby.
ago.
But I think that would have been a riskier take, but I think one that, and maybe not one that would have done so well in the box office as much,
Mhm.
but
It
one
could have
that
been
I
more interesting, like artistically, though.
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
think, and I think you could do it right, like, because like they were talking, like even like in that, like you could even have like all the same lines, all the same dialogue, because even Laurie's like, we know that like Michael gets stronger even like with brute force, right? And so like the brutality of his death, and all of a sudden it's like this you talk about like hell is other people, right? Evil is other people, that type of thing. Like mob justice is never the right answer, blah blah blah. I didn't hate it up until that point though. Even when she stabbed him in the back, and like again, I was like, oh shit, they're gonna pull the trigger on it. They're really gonna go that way, and then they didn't. So
Yeah.
it didn't. That as much as I loved it, everything up until that point, it was super cool. It didn't work for me.
Speaking of Laurie, how do we feel about her just kind of being,
bedridden?
She's just kind of there. Yeah, she's just kind of there. She's very Halloween 2 in this movie.
I didn't hate it as much because, like, I mean, we are hours apart from 6 inches of knife being in her intestines. So, like, my ludonarrative dissonance meter was like, yeah, she really can't do a fucking thing. She just had a knife in her stomach. Like, that honestly kind of worked for me, that she had to be sidelined. Because I think the worst version of this movie does have her go out there and, like, do crazy stuff. And it's like, I'm sorry, you can't move right now.
Yeah.
Your abdominal abdomen muscles have been separated from each other. That's not something you can just... You can't fight Michael Myers. What are you doing? Like, I didn't have any of those go off because they put her in a bed. Like, that kind of works for me.
Abdominal was the right word, by the way. You were right the first time.
Look, I tried.
I had a little laugh when she was trying to do something.
Right.
And she like knees that doctor, and then her whole wound opens up again. And she's like, ah. It's like,
That was cool,
that
though.
makes
Like,
sense.
yeah,
I love that
like-
that just happened.
Yeah, they're like, you can't do this. What do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
Well, and I love like this paranoia and all this shit, like, and it just being like, no, Lori, you're wrong. You are actually pretty insignificant. Like, I find that
sure.
I find that to be like really cool.
I think it's compelling. And
Yeah.
that's why I actually liked Laurie's position in this movie for that reason. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. That's why I liked the large cast of characters. I think that sidelining her fulfills that same goal in a way that's healthy for the franchise and for the movie. Yeah.
Cool, because now they can bring it back, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then like you're like, oh, cool, Lori can actually get her moment in the sun or not. Although like I know Lori's not going to be the one to like put Michael down, but like maybe she
did
should.
it once. She had her chance.
Yeah, but maybe she should, right? Like I am much more compelled by seeing like Jamie Lee
Two
Curtis kill Michael
60-year-olds
Myers.
killing each other instead of...
Yeah, I've seen her kill him 3 times now. I could see him do it a 4th.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
I could see her doing it a 4th.
If I had to pick, it's gonna be her, right? But like, also, if I were to pick, I actually would just go for her line. She has one line in this movie where she thinks of herself very strongly in like the Michael Myers saga, where she says a very Star Wars feeling line, which was, maybe he can't die if I don't die, or whatever, right? And I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. And no, but what if?
What if they like? What if she like kills? Like she just stay? They re-trap him and she stays that time.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, do I think that would be like almost like too stupid to go forward with? Yes, but also I'm okay with it. I think it would be a good way to just like end them both, and then end the franchise that way. This version of the franchise, at least.
They pull an end of of WoW Legion, where Illidan goes and kills Sargeras.
Oh my god.
Wow, spoilers, Bobby, for like a couple-year-old expansion.
Sorry. We don't know. In fact, as far as we know, they might still be fighting.
They're fighting forever. It's kind of like when Gandalf and the Balrog fought.
Yeah.
It went
and they
on
both
forever.
died. Yeah. But one of them came back, and this time it's going to be Michael, so they can make Halloween 17.
Give me a second. I want to make sure that. Yeah. Okay.
He's double checking his wow facts.
I needed. I knew it was Sargeras, but I got real nervous for a second. I'm like, is it not Sargeras? Anyway, sorry. Hey, what if we just rate this bad boy, huh?
What if we just rated it?
Yeah.
I could just rate it. I could do it.
So
Yeah.
what
We can
would
throw
you rate
something
it?
out
What would you
there.
rate it? What would you rate it?
Me?
Yeah.
So this one was tough for me. We're trying not to spoil, I guess, our thoughts on the other two, but I would score those movies very, very highly. I watched all three of these in a row, just like Alan did. 3 nights, 3 movies. And maybe that lowered my thoughts of Halloween Kills.
I feel like it might have, because both of you guys really seem to like this movie less than me, and I'm the only one who watched this one in a vacuum.
And
Look, those other 2 movies are very
they're
good.
so good.
Like it's impressive how good they are.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I love slashers, right? Slashers are a top 3 horror subgenre for me. It's like really how I got my start with horror in a lot of ways, outside of like the classics. And so I'm always going to be a little bit biased towards a movie that just has like good gore and like good kills in it. In a lot of ways, that's enough for me.
Perfect.
And I think in the end, this is like a 3.5. I didn't dislike it. And it is one of the better Halloween movies. But a lot of the little things I just didn't care for. Like the entire mob storyline, I think that was kind of wasted. I didn't really like the flashbacks. I don't know, something about it overall just didn't like click enough for me to get all the way to 4. But I did like it, and I'll watch it again and have no problems with that. And maybe when Halloween Ends comes out, I'll change my tune a little bit. Maybe it'll slot in really well as a middle entry. I think it being made intentionally as a middle entry of a trilogy can hamper that a little bit, but 3.5.
Hey, Alan.
Okay, all right. So as it's known, I'm a bit of a gore fiend, and that's where this movie it is known. This movie absolutely succeeds. I mean, anybody who likes gore, this is one of the easiest recommendations that I could make for you in terms of a modern movie that I personally have seen. I'm gonna use that qualifier. Because, for example, I have not watched Bone Tomahawk yet, which I have heard is a gore fest. We'll get to that later. The gore does a lot of legwork for me in this movie because I really did not enjoy the extra characters as much. That's, I think, just a big difference I had personally with Bobby and Corbin here. Is I would rather, to me, I think Michael is scarier when it's more personal. So that loses a bit of ground for me personally. I watched this and I just couldn't help but think there's a movie after this. What can they realistically do here to surprise me? And frankly, they did a decent job with killing Karen at the end. I'll give credit. I didn't necessarily expect that to occur. I was pretty into it, but you know when you see Michael go down that he's not going down. There's another movie after this. Like I couldn't get past that, especially considering how well 18 ends. And then we get this movie and you go, does it need to exist? I don't know. So I ended up being a little less than Corbin. So I'm at a 3 out of 5. And I too also would rate 18 and 78, not to be too specific, substantially high. So I think this earns a good 3 out of 5. It's It's a pretty solid movie. If you want gore, easy. Watch this movie. Done. Simplest recommendation there.
Bobby.
This is easily the third best Halloween movie.
What's the other two ahead of it?
Gee, I wonder what, considering that I also would. You know what? They're not going to say it, but I'll say it. 18 and 78 are both 5 out of 5 films. You're going to hear it again at some point, but it is what it is.
I mean, if we're just breaking the barrier, like...
Yeah, spoiler alert.
They are.
Spoiler
Both
alert for those
are.
all-time classics, right?
Yeah.
This movie is not as good as those two. And I don't...
Right.
And I think watching them really close together to this probably will hamper your enjoyment of it. Again, that might change if Halloween Ends or whatever. I think it's what it's called. Ends up being cool and it slots really well in the middle because it could be a really nice 5.5 hour.
Can I challenge that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
That is not that being a factor of watching those other two movies before this, to me, I how do I want to phrase this? I don't think that is my fault as the viewer when the movie doesn't do the legwork needed to get me in.
You misunderstand. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm taking this movie on its own merits. I'm saying this may change in time, but this movie on its own merits, I think because of where it lands and I did enjoy it, I'm going to go ahead and just have us have a nice smooth slope. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Because I think I'm the one who is most forgiving of this movie. I liked it a lot. It was fun. It became about Haddonfield in a way that wasn't about a lore dump that I kind of really liked. You got to see like what happens when evil comes home, right? Like not just for
this time,
yeah. Like, and not just for like these like main groups of characters, but like for like it captured a weird element of Halloween 78 that 18 didn't capture, which was like Haddonfield felt a little more alive in this. Haddonfield felt far less alive in 18. Even though you didn't really need it. But like this, it worked. It was really nice. So yeah, 4 out of 5.
Nice. Can't say I disagree with either of your scores in the end. I mean, I'm in the middle, but like I came into this with a 3. And I bumped it along the way because like kind of talking about it.
Yeah. And now I've convinced him it's a 4.
No.
I came in with a 3.5.
Oh, so for me, like talking about it made me realize, like, yeah, like I did like in the end, I did like it quite a lot. It just didn't. I just don't think it's as good as I don't know that I'd say it's the third best Halloween movie, but it's definitely in the top 5.
What are you saying? H2O is up there?
H2O is really good though.
That was a total shot in the dark. I honestly didn't know.
Bad.
That was just the one movie that I knew off the top of my head.
H2O is the first version of Halloween 2018. It was 20 years later. It was a post Scream like meta slasher. It's actually really cool. It similar to 18. It was a one and done that then had a sequel. It's a good one.
Resurrection's how good, dude. Busta Rhymes, Karate Kid, yeah. Michael Myers, let me tell you.
Honestly, a 5 out of 5 moment in a 2 out of 5 film.
2 out of 5? That's a 1.5 out of 5, and that's a good thing for that movie.
Yeah, true. Well, he did karate.
Yeah.
Spoilers?
Anyway.
What? No.
Spoiler free, boys.
Yeah.
Do we think this is essential? Now, for everybody that skipped forward to the spoiler-free section, which I wouldn't blame you, it's a pretty new movie, right? We gave this a relatively average scores, I guess. I gave it 3.5, Alan gave it a 3, Bobby gave it a 4. We all enjoyed it, but had varying ideas of how actually good it was. Going into the is it essential or not for horror, Alan, start us out.
I have a very hard time with this because on the one hand, I think the gore angle, if you're a gore guy, or gal or other. There's a lot for you here. There's a lot for you here. It really...
Gore guys, gals, and MB pals.
Look, everybody's included
I
here
love that.
in the horror genre. You look,
Yeah,
if you enjoy
that's right.
you enjoy gore, there's a lot here for you. I don't know, man. I have a tough time.
Maybe
with this
Alan
one.
shouldn't have went first.
That's you picked the worst person because I don't have my thoughts solid.
I love that he is struggling with this. It makes my heart sing.
I know.
Because like every part of me is saying, yeah, you probably should experience this movie.
Then your answer is yeah.
But I kind of have a similar. Remember in Fear Street 78, the second time it's come up from me, I was like, I don't really know,
that movie
man.
like 4 times today.
Maybe. That's kind of in a similar way where I'm like, I want to see how we resolve things before I would really want to say if this part of it is.
Sure.
It's a weird middle ground for me. I'm going to say no, but I reserve the right to change that in our Halloween Ends episode in approximately a year or so from now.
Okay.
Probably 2, but yeah.
That's my take.
It comes out 1 year from now.
Oh,
it's about a year. Yeah.
October
I know
14th, 2022.
Cool.
There you
We'll
go.
see you then.
We'll see you on the 17th.
Did you already look and see if that's a Monday?
No, I just used my brain.
Hold on. I'm gonna check to see if Corbin's actually correct.
Corbin's a genius.
Bobby, you
I'll go
got it on
next.
the
Can I
tip of your
go next?
tongue. Go
He
for
is
it.
correct.
Yeah, no. Unlike what I said about Fear Street 1978 in our spoiler-free discussion, I don't think this movie is going to necessarily be necessary. It's really, really cool. I gave it the highest rating. And go back to the spoiler discussion to see, especially the end. That's where my thoughts really like fully got to what I wanted to say.
They coalesced.
Yeah, that's the word. There's just something about the way that like it expands the Halloween world a little bit in a way that I really enjoyed. But like, does that make it essential? No, right? Like cool, like extended universe stuff, like it's the Marvel what ifs, or like, you know what I mean? Like you don't need to watch them to enjoy the films. You barely even need to watch like half of the Marvel movies to enjoy like the Avengers flicks. So like that type of thing is like bringing it back to horrors. Like it doesn't necessarily need to fit in the horror movie canon essentiality, even if it is starring one of its greatest icons. So no, it's not essential. It's cool. You should watch it, especially because it's new and it's that hotness, and like
and
you said,
it's
there's a lot of
free if
really...
you have Xfinity.
yeah. If you got if you still shill out to big cable like me and Corbin do, there's a lot to love in it. It's just probably not the most essential film you'll watch this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, this is an easy no. I liked it. It's cool. I think, Bobby mentioned that a few times. It's a cool movie. It is, right? I enjoyed my time with it. I'll watch it an innumerable amount of times after this. I know that I will. But is it essential? No. It doesn't really bring anything to horror that hasn't been done before. It's not like Halloween 2018 that I think did things for the genre. Like, I think 10 years from now, we're going to look back on this as another Halloween sequel. There's a bunch of them. They're definitely not all essential. They're not even all good. And this one is going to be the one in the bucket of good, but not essential. Again, I liked it. I agree with Bobby.
Yeah.
Watch it. It's very fun. And if you like slashers, honestly, this is a pretty good watch. There are much worse things you could watch than this.
Like, for instance, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers.
Or any Leprechaun movie.
Leprechaun is pretty good, dude.
Leprechaun into Hood is a surprisingly good movie.
Alan's never seen Leprechaun before. He's just saying things.
Yep.
I just need to make that clear for our listeners that might think you're giving an actual suggestion. Alan doesn't know what he's talking about. Halloween Kills is dope, but it's not essential. That's my...
Yeah. speaking of Leprechaun 4 in space, what are you guys' handles? Where can we find you? What have you guys been up to?
To add on to the space angle,
You went to space?
You can find me. No, but you can find me at a Seal Punter on all of my handles. I've been playing Metroid Dread as of late. So very spacey, and vaguely horror related.
That Metroid Dread is totally horror adjacent. Totally is.
I don't know if I was just not paying attention, but this is effectively a sequel to Metroid Fusion, the best Metroid game that's ever been created. I said it. I stand by that.
How can you be saying that when Metroid Prime is standing right there?
I'm sorry. No. No. If
The
you would have
Metroid
said
Prime
Super
series is so
Metroid,
good. Okay.
if you would have just said Super Metroid, we're fine here.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay?
I'm sorry. Metroid Fusion is fine if you want to go backwards. We're moving forwards, buddy. The wheel of progress stops for no one.
Listen here, Mr. 3D beats 2D at a base level. All right, you're wrong. Metroid Fusion is a perfectly designed Metroidvania that has yet to been outpaced, except maybe by a few select games in the entirety of the genre.
Yeah,
all
like
right?
Metroid
I don't want to
Prime.
hear it. No. No.
Let's make a Metroidvania, right? Let's do that. But here's what we do. How about we make
it
a
worse than its
shooter?
predecessor?
Genius. Mwah, chef's kiss. Mwah, chef's kiss. Mwah, chef. That's why people aren't as excited for Dread as even just seeing a still of the new Metroid Prime series game that we don't even know the name of yet. People are still stoked on that.
Metroid Prime 4.
It's okay to be wrong, Bobby.
I'm gonna go ahead and split the difference here. All right. First of all, Alan, you weren't paying attention. It's always been Metroid 5 or whatever, the sequel to Metroid Fusion. That's the whole point of it.
That's fine.
Also, I'm sorry. Is Metroid Fusion the best 2D Metroid? Of course it is. But Metroid Prime is just better.
To me, Metroid is best in a 2D fashion.
Hey, Alan, real quick.
At all.
What do I say?
That you're objectively correct.
All the time, baby. And here we are again.
I hate it. That's been the game I've been playing because that's basically all I've had time for. And yeah, a Seal Punter. It's been on your screen the whole time. You could have said something to me, but you didn't. Or maybe you did. I don't know yet. We'll find out.
Bobby?
Best way to find me is, again, at the bottom of my thing right there.
What if he puts it at the top just to screw with us?
Twitch.tv/theredweenie.
It would block things.
I try to stream Destiny content, but also my relevant socials like my Instagram and Twitter are there. I've been relatively active on Instagram, and I'm becoming more and more active every day on Twitter. As I do not run either of those socials, I try to respond on my personal account to make it feel a little bit more special. Yeah, mostly Destiny. I've actually been enjoying the game again, instead of just playing it for the sake of raiding with friends. I've been really busy. I'm hoping to get back into the things I like after October is over, because obviously running a horror podcast means I have to dedicate everything in this very, very spooky month to horror. So that's what I've pretty much been doing. But twitch.tv/theredweenie.
There you go. You can find me anywhere at Corbangarang. I'm super active on Twitter. Follow me there primarily. I have been playing Destiny and Diablo and Warhammer. Not a lot has changed. I've been listening to this book called The Sanatorium. Not very good. Wouldn't recommend it. Looking for book recommendations. I think the last few times I've mentioned a book, I've said not good. So wouldn't mind reading something good. Alan, don't say it.
So clearly my taste is bad, so someone fix that for me.
The Dark Tower. We've said it how many times?
That's true. The Dark Tower is so good, my guy.
I've been watching Buffy, and I've been watching Hell's Kitchen. They're great. And that's me. You can find
a cowardly response.
Yeah, you like that. You can find all of us reviewing movies every single day on Letterboxd. find us on Letterboxd at Essential Scares. In fact, find us anywhere at Essential Scares. This month, for 33 straight days, including the first 2 days of November, we have been writing a horror review for you guys, themed around whatever theme that we chose, thanks to one of our other horror buddies. It's been a grand old time. We've somehow managed to convince Bobby to watch several movies he didn't want to watch, and we've gotten Alan to watch several movies that he really needed to. So totally worth it.
True.
Oh, don't listen to anything Alan says in the reviews. He's been wrong several times already, and I just can't tolerate this type of heresy.
He has been right a couple of times though as well.
Like in Beyond the Black Rainbow?
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Anyway, if you like our written content, please let us know. And then if you really like it, definitely let me know so I can convince these guys to just keep going. Anyway, follow the podcast everywhere at Essential Scares. But that's it for the week. That wraps us up. Thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you to everybody for watching. If you like the show, share it with your friends, share it with your parents. They love horror and you just don't know it. Rate it, review it. We love you. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Bobby. I think this was a great episode. I love doing the show, and I hope you do too. Next week, we're actually watching Scream. I have been your host, Corbin, and this has been Essential Scares.
The breakdown plays tonight. The breakdown plays tonight. The breakdown plays tonight.
I love that.